I'm sorry if I'm talking a little bit low. It is 2:56 in the morning. Um, but I wanted to kind of talk about this while it's still fresh. I mean, Twitch is gonna be the first to see it. I got respect for GGG, and I really know like my stream ain't gonna be doing crazy numbers. So I know maybe the one or two or three people that jump in here might, get a little taste of what's to come. But realistically, I'm about to drop this video literally right after tomorrow tomorrow's live stream. I think the live stream's at what 1 p.m. So yeah, literally. Please excuse the lighting. By the way, I know I look like I belong in a fucking Scream movie or some shit. Um, it kind of looks like the sun is mean mugging me right directly in front of my face, and I'm not doing anything. But it's just because I have Microsoft Paint on here. I have OBS right here that's mirroring Microsoft Paint, as well as my fucking ring light uh, webcam. So all together now I am steaming like a goddamn bag of broccoli. But we're still here to bring you the latest in Path of Exile news. And I'm gonna be honest with you, you probably heard this from a whole bunch of other people. I think some YouTubers already kind of dropped videos on this shit like 18 hours ago and stuff. So I am late to the party. You guys probably already heard this. This is kind of news to me. Like I've been getting bits and pieces, not just today, but like throughout the week since zero point 0.3 is what 9 days away. I think 8, 9 days away. I know it comes out on the 7th, right? Let me make sure I got that correct. Hold on. 29th. So I was right. Yeah, it's like 9 days away. So everything is kind of coming out of the woodwork. I know one of the first people to really touch the new update, or at least got like a behind the scenes footage and stuff of it, was Darth's video. Shout out to Darth, by the way. Definitely go and check him out. And just honestly, his whole work that he did regarding the zero point 0.3 campaign and interviewing all of the different departments and kind of giving us an inside look at what working at GGG is like. And you know, I don't want to speak too much on it because this is, of course, about the leaks. I will talk about my thoughts and ideas on those videos once I actually react to them, because I definitely want to react at some point to them. Because there is a lot of good lore and just overall, tidbits that they just give out that kind of builds the atmosphere outside of Path of Exile 2, and what a company like GGG is and how refreshing it is to hear things outside of horror stories. And yeah, it's just great. But anyway, let's get into some stuff that I've heard through the woodwork, as well as through my own little research, because I do trust, you know, a lot of the YouTubers and stuff that do leak, not leak the content, but like, update us on news and shit. But I was also like to fact check it. However, I was late to fact check it, so everything that I'm saying, um, I mean, if you want to take it with a grain of salt, a lot of the stuff, I mean, you can fact check it on other people's videos. And also the website, which I think this is all coming from, which is like Kami House or something Kami. And apparently it got deleted, and it's gonna be reposted once the live stream is here. So I mean, if the glove don't, I mean, if the glove fits, I mean, I was gonna make a OJ joke. Spirit of that whole crime to stop me from doing that. But anyway, um, yeah, I mean, like everything looks super, super legit. But again, things are subject to change until you hear it from the actual developer's mouth, and that's exactly why I'm not gonna post the video right now or whenever the fucking live stream drops. But I do want to drop this like immediately after, just to kind of get it in the ahead of the game. But um, yeah, shout out to Kami, and then Miro Shiru. I watch a lot of his videos too, and he was one of the first videos I watched regarding the leak. So definitely refer back to his video for a little bit more of an in-depth analysis. He's been doing this longer than me, so you matter of fact, I actually watched his video, and then I watched somebody else by the name of Wooly. Shout out to Wooly too. And then of course I want to give my own thesis. So one of the major things in, handy dandy Microsoft Paint here is to make sure I have some type of visual because you guys don't want to just see a black screen. Um, one of the first things, wrote down most of the stuff on my phone. Should we talk about the big thing I want to talk about, or should we start with some small stuff? Okay, why don't we talk about the elephant in the room? Well, not, I wouldn't say the elephant in the room, but the main focus of the new zero point 0.3 update. Um, to me is at least adding an act. Uh, and I was under the impression we might get 4 and 5. I was had high hopes for 5. I knew we were guaranteed 4, but I was thinking maybe they give us a double feature. But um, no, unfortunately, it is just, oh my god, I don't know how the fuck they do this. How the hell does Gold use this? Oh my god, it feels like I'm fucking writing with arthritis. Holy shit. Shout out to arthritis, bring more awareness to that shit. So Act 4 is guaranteed. So I'm gonna just put a little check mark here. Should I do green? We have colors. Boom. Um, Act 4 is guaranteed. It is apparently supposed to hold us off until we get to the interludes, which I do want to talk about as well, but apparently that shit is big as fuck. I already think that Act 2 lasts a pretty long extent. Well, not Act 2, I would say Act 3 more than Act 2, because I feel like Act 2, it has a reasoning for its fluff, and I think Act 3 is kind of all over the place. That's just in my opinion. But and also the kind of like the environment of Act 2 was super interesting as well. So and it had you go into different places and shit, and you know it was fun. With Act 4, it's supposed to be enough to hold us out the same way that Cruel did, essentially. Um, I'm glad that they're getting rid of Cruel because I hated playing over um the first 3 acts over again. I'm sorry, I couldn't get over that. Like I love Path of Exile too, but having to play that story technically twice per character that you're creating for the season was just annoying. That's why I limited myself to 1 character per season. I did try the Huntress for a little bit, but it's like I mean, everything about the story mode is interesting, but it's like you already gotta do it again when you make a new character. Um, but that's just with early access. That's an early access thing. It's a thing of the past soon. So, um, but with Act 4, it's supposed to take us from whatever that end level that you're at the end of Act 3. It's gonna take you from there to at least 60, and then after 60, we have something called interlude. So I'll kind of talk about both of those at the same time. We're not going to use black. Black is beautiful, but in this case, I gotta kind of keep a theme. Isn't that the fucking eraser? Oh, awesome. Alright, so we're also going to talk about these things called interludes, right? Why the fuck did it just become the size of an actual fucking pencil? What is this? Alright, y'all gonna have to deal with it. I'll learn Microsoft Paint in another fucking episode. We'll have a training arc. Interludes. Okay, that's just ignorant. So yeah, this is supposed to be our placeholders for Act 3, Act 1 through 3 Cruel, on top of Act 4 being extremely long. So with the interludes, from what I noticed, well, from what I've seen through the leaks, is they're going to be acting as it's essentially filler arcs. It's filler arcs that's only going to be there until they eventually add 5 and 6, and I think after 5 and 6 they no longer need placeholders. Um, So interludes are just kind of our filler arcs that I'm thinking is gonna tell like side stories or something. I know one of them is about Doriani's contingency, what I could imagine probably gonna explore kind of his, reasoning and his science behind what we're gonna be doing in the future. Um, and then I think another one takes you through King's March. I don't quote me on that one specifically, but interludes are becoming a thing in Act 3. It's going to be here for a short time, so honestly speaking, I think, I mean, I think it's not even something necessarily to talk about, because it is something that's going to be disappearing, but what I will say is anything is better than Act 1 through 3 Cruel. Um, So I will do filler arcs any day of the week. I've watched a lot of anime, and I'm somebody that, as much as people tell me it's not worth it to watch those 90 episodes of filler, I promise you, you're not going to learn anything, and it's not going to be relevant later on in the story. Honestly, you can go through the whole story and it will not be mentioned once. I don't even know why I mentioned filler arcs because you're probably not even going to notice it. And guess what? I watched every single Bleach filler arc. I watched every single Naruto filler arc. A whole bunch of shit. So fillers don't bother me. Honestly, just any content is really good content, especially when it comes to story. Um, you know, I would love for them to harbor back to interludes at some point later on when the game actually releases, and it could kind of be a thing where like people during early access could say, "Oh, I was there for that," you know what I mean, or something like that. That's just me wanting to be exclusive. Hold on, sorry, I was grabbing my vape. And talking back to Act 4, so a lot of the theming around Act 4 has to do with tribal, which it could go a couple of routes because there's a couple of different ways that you can do tribal. Um, Honestly, I really can't give you an opinion on what I think that could be. Uh, but what I can say is it has to be interesting enough to be as long as it is. Because people are gonna just be bored real quick. They're not even gonna want to get to end game. Speaking of end game, um, there's gonna be a hunt. Well, I said end game, but technically it's the whole game. But there's gonna be 100 new enemy types. So I'm assuming this is for just common and rare monsters. I don't think it's because the reason why I say that is there's supposed to be 12 new bosses. God, I'm so sorry for whoever has to fucking read this later. There's gonna be 12 new bosses, apparently. Um, I mean, they've done a really good job with all of the bosses that's currently in the game, so with 12 being a little bit of a smaller number, it's like, I'm not even mad, because they put some quality into that shit. Like, honestly, the fucking, you remember that mammoth fight where you're fighting the mammoth and the guy who's conjuring the mammoth? I think that fight is so cool, even though it's just a regular tag team fight. I think the atmosphere around it was really sick, and some of the mechanics with like the mammoth dying and then well, it depends because I always kill the mammoth first, but I think if you kill either or, they get like a completely different move set afterwards. Also the Titan Grotto, I think it's the Titan Grotto where the dude is just like in the what the fuck? Where the dude is essentially just like in the background and you're like walking up to this fucking pedestal and then he walks up from the background, takes a sword out of his fucking back and just aura farms right in your fucking face. Like, you know what I mean? It's so sick. So I would love to see what these new 12 bosses can do. I definitely have a tier list coming out, and I might as well just do it whenever the new update comes out, so that way I can get a kind of a refresher on the bosses from the original, like the you know original game or whatever the case is. But that's pretty sick. There's also one more statistic that I forgot, and it's is it maps? It was something about maps. There was a definitely a more variety to the maps. There was a specific number, but I just can't remember it at the point. But just know there's going to be new maps. How much? I wish I can tell you. I wish I paid attention to that, but it's coming. 100 new enemy types. I mean, like I said, with the bosses, also the common enemies and stuff. While some of them are fucking annoying, um, overall I do love the variety. I do love the fact that they try different things and stuff of that nature. So I think it would be super um, dope to see what they come out with, especially with the tribal theming. Like how do you combine that? You know what I mean? I also love the horror aspect and the like dark nature of this game too. So, you know, to me, there's no need to expand outside of that theming. But if they did, with the team that they have right now and how fucking creative and how clean their work is, shit, try out different shit, bro. I don't care. Um, some of the things I wish they could change, or some of the enemies that I could absolutely do without, is definitely the fucking machine gun spine fucking bone throwing motherfucker. That's I think in Act 3 if I'm not mistaken. Who else can I do without? I can do without the there's a dude that when you're doing maps, he kind of throws out like this Kamehameha wave at you, and there's nothing you can do until you find like some type of backing towards it, and it just liquidates um your fucking health. I don't know what they're called. They're like sun something, but I hate them so much. So fucking much, bro. They have made me lose out on so much loot just off of them, bro. Because I juice the fuck out of my maps, and it always happens to be them that fucking end up crippling my soul. You know what I mean? Um, and then I think they also got introduced into trials, or they have a variant of them in the trials and stuff. And oh my god, yeah, absolutely not. I would much rather load up fucking Diablo 4. But those um those are some. Y'all can still hear me? Okay, perfect. So um yeah, so that's a lot of like the atmospheric things. Let's talk about some gameplay changes, right? One of the things we definitely need to talk about, and this is something that I wanted to kind of give my two piece on because I think I have kind of a more different outlook than a lot of people are giving it, and by all means, they are completely right in their own aspects. But what I want to throw on the table is, and first of all, let me introduce what they're bringing. So there is now, or going to be, a sprinting system in Path of Exile 2. Um, so how it works is, I think it's just something based off of stamina, and you're able to maneuver a lot quicker outside of combat. You could also be in combat. However, here's a little caveat. If you get hit, you're heavy stunned, or you're just down for a long time and then you have to like recover back up, which opens you to, uh, said Kamehameha Sun God that just decides to fuck your day after you were just trying to get a nice jog in. Yeah, you trip and fall, you're done for is essentially what's happening. Um, but they're basically introducing this because there is Compared to Path of Exile 1, the game feels like it's slow to a crawl, and it's not a bad thing because again, they said this before they even released the game that it's not gonna feel as fast-paced as Path of Exile 1. If anything, they're slowing down the gameplay to focus more on, well, they're slowing down the movement to focus more on strategic gameplay and kind of like, and I hate to say it, but like a Dark Souls-esque type of gameplay where you, instead of spamming one button and essentially clearing the area, their goal was to make it so that bosses and enemies kind of telegraph their moves and stuff, and there's a like a limited amount of them. You'll even see it whenever you're doing mapping, that there's not a lot of enemies. Like they're sporadically placed everywhere, so it feels like a lot of them. But compared to Path of Exile 1, it's a cakewalk. You know what I mean? However, like the travel in between those enemies and um, was just it just added on to the slow nature of the game. And with combat already feeling slow, movement couldn't be something that they could lack on, because it's just gonna make the game feel not like Path of Exile. Like you could go slow, don't get me wrong, but you're gonna have to compact that area or something, because that pointless walk from A to B kills my whole vibe when mapping. I swear to fucking God. Like, I get it. Like, if you want to make maps intricate and shit like that, be my guest. But don't just lead me down a fucking tunnel. And then once I get to the end of it, it's just nothing. It's just a fucking dead end. You might as well just put a middle finger there. I'll at least be entertained. You know what I mean? Um, I feel like a lot of the routes in that game is pointless. They don't even put enemies in some of these spots. Like you're literally walking down an area and you're hoping you find like a side mechanic or something of like that nature, because the map is fogged out. You don't know what you're leading up to. And you know, sorry, there's something on my screen. Boom. All right. Um, ew. But what was I gonna say? Um, you you needed something, and here's the thing. I would have loved for them to at least consider the aspect of possibly boosting up the movement speed slightly, um, or at least giving us travel mechanics, or like something like flame wall, or use like blink being somewhat useful, because I feel like blink is, unless you're like specking specifically into it, it feels like a nuisance at sometimes. But some type of movement skills or something. I thought they would have introduced that, or at least making it feel like when I have 35% movement speed, I'm not questioning myself on whether or not it really boosted anything. Like I should see it and feel a considerate difference. Uh, Instead, they went with the sprinting system, which honestly speaking, I'll accept, because anything to make mapping just a little bit faster would be super, super wonderful to me. Um, Hopefully, sprinting is something I wouldn't mind if they keep sprinting, but again, you have to touch on the movement speed issues. You have to. You know what I mean? Like this, can't, like you can't mask it with this. You can't. You know what I mean? You could put as much makeup on this motherfucker on the movement speed as much as you want. It's still not gonna feel good for OGs that's playing your game, and even newer people that's gonna notice that shit. Like a lot of newer people who started with Path of Exile 2 is going back and playing Path of Exile 1. That just recently had an update, Secret of the Atlas. And they're gonna notice the gameplay difference, and I even think newer players are gonna love the faster nature of it. Like I know they have their own vision for it. And if that's the case, cool. Dive deep into your vision and make us like it. You know what I mean? Like give us a reason to like it. But at the same time, if you're also like teasing us with stuff from Path of Exile 1 while also merging your vision, and they're kind of like going in two opposite directions, is confusing your community in a sense. Um like I said, sprinting shouldn't be too much of a big issue. If anything, it is a positive because it will increase the speed at which you could go through the game essentially. But I definitely think that they should rework it at some point. Test it out with this new update, but rework it at some point and also touch back on what you need to do. Um, there's a couple of other things. I'm trying to leave the support gem thing for next. Oh, how could I forget that? I don't even know if I should write it. I feel like people are just gonna go cry in the shower after I put this. Oh my god. I'm not even gonna erase it. I'm just gonna write it first and then we could both hold hands and cry. Hold on. Yep, you already see it. It it hurts me to write it too. I'm just letting you know, because I would have loved a new class. And even though I'm not super familiar with the Druid, I didn't really play it in Path of Exile 1. I would have loved to just play with something different, you know what I mean? And having an act on top of a new class would have just been icing on the cake. Uh, but yeah, unfortunately, we're not seeing the Bear King. We're not. He is coming. It's at least confirmed that he will be coming, just not in this update. But it would have been cool to actually like bring him on board. Um, and it's the same thing with this next one. Now, this next one is very niche. Not a lot of people talked about it, but I did see Miro Shiru release a leak for this uh, leak with a grain of salt because it was just essentially in the Secret of the Atlas kind of like artwork gallery that they had on the website, and you're supposed to get this like cloak, right? And the cloak is supposed to work for both Path of Exile and 1 and 2. And the render that they had for Path of Exile 2 featured the Shadow wearing that cape. And it's the same kind of like Shadow, layout. He's skinny, he's kind of pale skin, like all of this nature. It's the Shadow without a doubt, and he's not in the game yet. I mean, it confirms him. I mean, we're almost guaranteed to get him. But when I saw that, I was like, are you bringing my boy back? Are you bringing him back from the dead? And, Jonathan did say, like, Shadow's not coming in this update anyway. I just had some little hope. But yeah, no Shadow, no Druid as well. But the Druid has been in play for a while. It has been in the works. And for them to not want to release it during Act 4, which, they would. Like, they would. So I think they saw something or they saw an issue with the Druid and just realized that releasing this now would cause more issues than um, praise. So we might as well just like take it back to the drawing board and bring it when we feel like it's perfect, and that's GGG. And even though we have to wait a little bit, we know it's coming, and we know when it does come, it's gonna feel great. So take your time, perfect it as much as you can. I feel like this update is going to provide a decent amount of content for the next, maybe zero point 0.4 or 0.3.5. But yeah, for right now, we're going to have to deal with the classes that we have now, which is good because I will at least now have an opportunity to play with my witch. So that's going to be fun. I feel bad because I didn't give the Huntress a full playthrough because I'm kind of playing her right now, and like I said, we're 9 days away from the actual drop, so that character will be dead to me. But I think if zero point 0.3 lasts a decent amount of time, I think I'll get through the Witch fairly quickly. And not only that, have enough time to also do a Huntress as well. But I don't think managing two characters at the same time it's no bueno. So, uh, I'm just gonna completely play out the witch because I've been wanting to play the witch for a while, and then we'll just go straight into the Huntress, and hopefully we'll have enough time to actually get through her because at this point this will be my second Huntress. But I want to see what the Twisters plus Whirling Blade can do. Especially once I get my Ascendancy and shit. Don't even know what Ascendancy I'm gonna go with if I do play the Huntress, but it'll be fun. Um, but yeah, no Shadow, no Druid. Another thing that was, what tell y'all right now? Oh, I already talked about all that. Okay, so, um, now we can get into the fun part. This one I'm gonna kind of like ramble on a little bit about because I do have some opinions about it. I'm just gonna put support gem. Why is there so much of a space? Jesus Christ. Yep, support gem overall. So, support gems are not going to be working the same that it was before. There's so many changes to support gems, and I can't wait to talk about them. So, one of the first things, and it's a major thing, you can now use duplicate support gems on other skills. You can't stack the same skill on one. You can't you can't use the same support gem multiple times on the same skill because at that point we'll just be building martial tempo and dude would have like 0.00001 refresh time. So um, I will say that's good, but now it opens up the opportunity to finally be able to use certain support gems that we couldn't before because we were limited to one skill at a time. Uh, a lot of people are concerned because they feel like the same support gems are going to be used, and I can almost guarantee that's going to happen. At this point, a lot of people are talking about primal armaments and martial tempo. So primal armaments gives you a boost to your elemental damage, I think, and then martial tempo increases the speed at which you cast or attack. Um, what each consecutive, I think it's each consecutive attack that you do, you speed up. So, um, yeah, there could be broken combos that are essentially used across the board, but I mean, like, Lightning Spear is the biggest fuck you right now in all of the skills, you know what I mean? It's completely overpowered, it's crazy. Um, so I think, so I think they should definitely they should rework the support gems in general, which they kind of did with the tiering system that they have with it, where you could essentially upgrade it the same way that you can with regular skill gems. I think it's up to three if I'm not mistaken, but the higher those, rare those tiers are, the more abilities or the more that you get out of that support gem. So I think they are reworking it to an extent. Um, but if anything, I just think it makes it a lot more reasonable to fill up the spaces now in your support gem, like in your gem stash or what, not stash, but like your gem inventory essentially. Um, you're now able to kind of use a lot of these abilities for its fullest capabilities. Because if you notice with a lot of skills, you wish that you could use martial tempo on that other skill as well. But unfortunately, you're going to have to um, suffice with something else, which and then kind of creates a dead skill in that case because if your other ability is working way better, then why use it? Um, then why use the other one? But in this case, allowing yourself to be able to use the support gems that you need more often, um, it's just gonna open the doors more for more creative builds, uh, a lot of more variety of builds as well, um, and kind of gives everything in your arsenal a purpose now. I definitely think that they're going to probably nerf a couple of the more um, overpowered skill gems. What's up? What's up, gang? How you doing? Um, so essentially, sorry, Nora, I'll talk to you in 1 second. I just want to finish up this video real quick. But support gem overall, uh, yeah, so they're gonna be doing that with the duplicates and then the tiering system with it. I think they also are adding something that's called oh God, I can't remember the name. So they are adding something else as well. So it's essential. It's a support gem that you could add to the weapon itself to kind of give like its native uh modifications some type of change to. Like the one example that they showed was like something to do with dodging and reloading, which I think is super super sick and super crazy, and I would love to see how creative they can get with that specific tier of support gems. I can't remember for the life of me what that support gem is called. Where the fuck is all these things coming from? It's like these big ass fucking like locusts or some shit. Did somebody take the fucking slab? But yeah, the support gem overall was definitely needed. Um, I know a lot of people are scared of what's to come because of that duplicate shit, but I think they're gonna be able to rework it just a little bit. Uh, I think it's necessary. I think it's gonna be able to kind of bridge the gap for a lot of these builds and doesn't feel like there's a lot of wasted space, essentially. Um, yeah, I thought I was gonna ramble a lot more, but I think it's a positive change, and I can't wait to see like PoE2DB and all like Mobalytics, I think it's called, and see all of the builds that kind of get flooded if they do a good job, um, and really focused on. I'm sorry, my chat's gotta get into the way. I think this new update is gonna be killer. It's definitely on the right track. There's a lot of things that disappointed us, new classes, things of that nature. The sprinting's kind of depends on how they use it. Um, but let's see. Let's give it a chance. Let's give it a shot. Act 4 kind of scares me with the size of it, but I think it'll be fun. And then the interludes, like I said, is going to be here and then it's going to be gone, so there's really no point of talking about it. But yeah, I just wanted to come on here and show y'all this real quick. I was gonna play a little game or something, but it's 3:37. I gotta take my ass to sleep. So I love y'all. This video is gonna drop tomorrow, but I appreciate y'all for sticking around. Um, zero point 0.3 is in a couple of days, so pay attention because we are going to be in it. Talking about in it.